What is astrology? I think that we all have a basic idea of astrology and maybe our horoscopes, or some people will say it's Mercury retrograde. But what is it really? How do you describe astrology and how you use it?
I see astrology as a psychological consistency for determining cycles of time and human development. So, how I can kind of broaden that is to say that we're all part of what I call the celestial clockwork, which is basically to say all the planets are moving like a clock and they move at their own rate no matter what we feel, no matter what we're going through, no matter what's going on here on Earth. The planets are doing what they're doing. So when you were born at this certain location, this certain time, on this certain date, this certain year, you locked in a certain geometrical perspective on Earth. So basically you dropped in at a certain point on that clock. And as the clock continues to spin, that's your perspective. And everything will revolve around that perspective or that position you dropped in on. So depending on where you were born and when you were born and what year you were born, it's going to change where your perspective on that clock is and how the geometry of the planets was sitting in the sky. Now, how we look at astrology is to say that each one of the planets in the sky represents a part of ourself. So Mercury represents our thought process and how we communicate. Right?
Yeah.
Mars is the planet of action. It's what we use to progress our vital energy. It's how we take action and what we put our energy towards. So by seeing the geometry between the planets in this chart, we understand the certain interactions or conversations going on within us, between our heart and our mind, between our drive and our wisdom. So the way that I look at astrology is these are certain consistencies that we can use to measure our movement through those cycles. It doesn't matter when you were born or what year you were born or where you were born. Between the ages of 28 and 30, Saturn is going to have gone all the way around the sky. That's a definable metric for every human to have a coming of age around 30. Around 42 to 44, Uranus will go halfway around the sky. That means for everyone between the ages of 42 and 44, you have your midlife crisis.
Okay.
It's a definable metric by the planets. So the way that I like to look at astrology is a definable metric of time to understand the cycles of human nature and maturity, and to be able to use these different consistencies as a psychological framework for understanding people's personality. So if you're born under the star of Taurus, born April, May, you're going to be embarking on the same sort of job as every other Taurus, but you're going to be doing it in a completely unique way to your life. So that's the way that I like to look at astrology.